Გამარჯობა მეგობრებო, მოგესალმებით. I am Mr. Smith and today we're going to be looking at the story of me-TEVZ-e და ოქროს თევზი. Me-TEVZ-e is this gentleman here. და ოქროს თევზი is this little animal here. And in the story, this animal is rather remarkable because it speaks Georgian better than me and it communicates with me-TEVZ-e because me-TEVZ-e დაიჭირა ოქროს თევზი. Now, from an English language perspective, ta-da, we've conjugated the past, and that is the emphasis of today's class, because in fact, we didn't do it right. Me-TEVZ-e დაიჭირა ოქროს თევზი. Whereas in English, the word order, the fisherman caught the golden fish, plus the past tense verb, caught, allows us to know who did what. But in Georgian, because word order can be moved around, the catcher needs to be identified. We don't want, this is a fairy tale, so it's very probable in any fairy tale that the golden fish caught the man. So we have to be clear who did what. And that's the point of today's class. We're going to be looking at the verb that shows us the past, which we can easily remember, but what we take off and what we put on to show who did what. And that's such an important aspect of Georgian grammar. It's the cases that I've already presented in series 1. It's the second case. To some people, it's the hardest case because this is called ergative past, where quite simply I could also say okros tevzi me-TEVZ-e დაიჭირა. And I'm saying the same thing. I'm not relying on word order to know who caught what. I'm relying on the nouns to do that job for you. So as we listen, we will see this, and I think that that's the important thing. These stories are told to children, and so they're always in the past. They often have 1 or 2, 3 characters. The magic, for example, the fact that the fish can speak, allows other verbs to be introduced, and so many parts of daily traditional dialogue can be repeated and practiced with kids. This one obviously has a moral. The moral of the story, spoiler alert, don't be greedy, don't ask too much. Golden fish gets far too many wishes and gets angry with me-TEVZe. In fact, he gets angry with me-TEVZe's wife, tsoli, who's also part of the story. If you want to know, because you may want to yourself look at the story, me-TEVZe da okros tevzi are your Googleable keywords, but me-baduri is also an option. Bade simply means net. And in these old stories, in Georgian, me-baduri da okros tevzi is a synonym. And in other stories as well, which I found, me-baduri is simply me-TEVZe. The only reason why I chose this version is because I like to look at the root of words. I like to know what I'm building from. So here we can clearly see that TEVZi, the root is TEVZ, and TEVZe, me-TEVZe, the root is here. So we can see a connection here with the distinguishing of the job. And in fact, simply adding the M in Georgian can create that, whereas in English we use ER. So we got the noun, fish, but also the verb, to fish. And then the fisher is the person who catches fish. That's the thing, same as bank, banker, teach, teacher. That's how English works. It might indeed end with an E. In Georgian, doesn't always. But the M is where we're sort of focusing on. And again, that's the point, isn't it? We get the opportunity, because this fish can talk, to experience a few fantastical elements, but still practice the past tense and discuss the grammar and the rules associated with making this right. Slide 1 answers 2 essentially easy questions that all kids want to know when they hear zagapari. Vin arian zagapris, matavari gmirrebi. Vin arian, who are? zgapris from the fairy tale, matavari, main, gmirebi, characters. Who are they? And we're going to learn okros TEVZi, metevze, kmari, the husband, who is also the fisherman. That's his job and that's his role. And tsoli is the wife. And then dedopali is the queen. So it's a little bit of a spoiler, really, but anyway, we're not here for the story itself. Let's look at this transformation here. Where did the A go? Well, the A disappears when the noun is irregular. So zaga ari is a fairy tale story, but zaga prebi are stories, many. I added the word khalkhuri just to show you that there's an adjective here transforming. Nothing much really. The adjective stays the same. Khalkhuri, zaga prebi, and here zaga pris, the main characters of the story. Essentially what's happening here is it's from the story in a way, so that's why it's changed. But again, we just need to note it. Just as a useful synonym, personagebi, obviously think of when we say personage, personagebi is also another synonym of characters, because essentially kmari is a hero, kmari, but a hero isn't essentially a hero in the genre of zgapari. It's just who is in the story. Okros TEVZi, as we know, me-TEVZe. I represented it here. I like these. We're going to be using them. So me-TEVZe. Kmari, the husband. Tsoli, his wife. Dedopali, the queen. And then the question, sad khedeba mok medeba, sad khedeba mok medeba, kochi, a hut, sasachle. Now we know sach just means house. Sasachle means palace, enormous luxury from fairy tales, or where the queen used to live. Oh, British queen, I don't know. You know what I mean? And then tziche simagre is a fortress. I think it's hard to imagine really the big difference between them, but a tziche simagre is usually made of stones. It's there for defense. It's there. I think tziche also means jail. So it's about that Tower of London. But a palace is like Buckingham Palace. It's intense luxury. It's lots of rooms. It's warm and it's opulent. Kochi is definitely not. And as you can probably guess, the characters live in a kochi and they upgrade using the wishes from okros TEVZi. So that's really what's going to happen in the next slides. The next slide, now we can start to tell the story. So we've got 3 sentences here, but some background. Ramochta, what happened? Now I'm using blue to show where the past is expressed in English and also in Georgian. Ramochta. And the standard sentence for all of these zgapari is ichoda reichora. Ichoda reichora is there was or there wasn't. Kind of keeps the imagination of the kids alive. Maybe you also find a fish. That's kind of what it's saying. It happened in this story. It could happen again. Icho gharibi metevze. Icho gharibi metevze. There was a poor fisherman. And this is poor, not like poor fisherman, like, oh, you're so unlucky. It's like poor as in broke as well. Metevze tali, here we go here. Metevze tavis soltan ertad tkhroba kochi. This verb connects him. Metevze. Tkhroba, lived. Tavis soltan ertad. With his wife, tsoli, we know, we already looked at it, but tan is added to tsoli, the I goes. Where in a kochi, kochi. Again, kochi, the I goes. We're adding these on, we don't show them. So, metevze tavis tsoltan ertad ცხოვრობდა ქოხში. ერთ დღეს. metevzem, and this is the example from the beginning, okros tevzi daiჭირა. ერთ დღეს metevzem okros tevzi daiჭირა. He caught okros tevzi, a golden fish. Okros tevz ma. Now, if you take a look, the fish is now, whereas the catcher, we found out that the catcher was the person that performed the action on the fish. The fish was doing its fish things until it was interfered with by metevze. So, metevzem okros tevzi daiჭირა. But in this case, okros tevz ma, let's take a look at our verb, offered something, right? შესთავაზა. შესთავაზა. შესთავაზა, offered. სურვილი, a wish. To the fisherman, metevzez. ოქროს თევზმა metevzez სურვილი შესთავაზა. The golden fish offered a wish to the fisherman. So what we've got here are two people, or one's a fish, let's say two characters, kmari and survili. And then we've got our verb again. So I think that this is really the height of the complexity of today's tutorial, really. And I think that we often learn these things in separate videos or on separate pages of a book. But now they're used together, each thing matters. Ma. This is the offerer. metevze. This is the receiver of the offer. Survili hasn't been altered at all. This is exactly how you find it in the dictionary, because in this dialogue, the wish it gets passed around from one person to another. It itself doesn't perform any action, whereas the catcher of the fish or the offerer of the wish does perform an action. And so survili remains in what is called the nominative case as is. Shestavasa. So it's really telling us what Georgian does. It tells us who got what, who offered what, and what was offered. Each noun, the golden fish, the fisherman, and the wish, are visibly and acoustically different, so that there is no doubt in the mind of the reader who did what to whom, who offered what to whom. And that is essentially what we're going to be focusing on with the ma and then the to, right? Often in the story, somebody does something to someone. Somebody says something to someone. Somebody gives something to someone. Someone takes something away from someone. And that's how these stories evolve. So if you've got this by now, the next slide is going to go a little bit deeper into various similar sentences that progress in the story. If at this stage you're thinking, I'm already confused, then it's obviously a good idea to double check on this type of grammar. But if not, then let's continue.